Zoran Mdani, potential mayor of New York City, America's largest populated city. He pushed to cut 1,300 officers from a racist New York Police Department in 2022. He also wants to cut funding for all Jewish organizations fundraising. And he's got a bunch of other stuff off his sleeve as a Democrat Socialist of America party member. What's that look like? Let's get into it. Here we go. Here's a little background video on some of his other exploits as well.
And speaking of the New York City mayoral primary, Zoran Mdani is already solidifying himself as an anti-Jewish and anti-Israeli figure, as he supports a bill that would ban Jewish nonprofits from raising money.
Sounds about right.
Cited unauthorized support for Israel as the main reason for the bill. ILTV's 𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗠𝗡 has more.
The Democratic candidate for New York City mayor has won the primary vote, and just hours after winning, Assemblyman Zoran Mdani expressed support for a bill that would see the ban of Jewish nonprofits' fundraising activity. Following Mdani's success in the primaries, President Donald Trump expressed much disdain, calling Mdani a communist on Truth Social. While Mdani identifies as a socialist, many share President Trump's sentiment. Mdani is a longtime anti-Israel activist who repeatedly expressed support for, quote, globalizing the Intifada. According to Mdani, the indiscriminate...
And yet he's going to be mayor of North America's largest city. This is the guy that's probably going to win. And it's not just Mdani. It's a number of other mayors that are more than likely going to win that have the same Democrat Socialists of America background. And they want to do all this stuff. This is what they believe in. Defunding the police, getting rid of the judicial system, don't like Israel, don't like Jews, right? I mean, this is all part and parcel of what they believe.
Killing of innocent Israelis, but in the name of freeing Palestine, is an acceptable stance for a New York mayor to take. Beyond accusing Israel of genocide, Mdani backs the boycott movement against Israel and has stated that should he win the general elections for New York City mayor in November, he would immediately halt nonprofit activity of Jewish organizations.
Wow.
The bill claims to stop illegal and violent activity in Israeli settlements, meaning Mdani supports a bill that blames Israeli organizations like 𝗧𝗜𝗏, a search and rescue organization with an irreplaceable role in Israel's war against its enemies, for inciting violence in Judea and Samaria. New York City is home to the largest Jewish population outside of Israel, leaving diaspora Jews waiting patiently to see how Mdani will do in the general election and if this man could potentially become mayor of New York City.
Personally, I think he's got a high probability of winning. You've got all this pushback on Trump. New York City just hates Republicans, right? It's a 7-to-1 ratio, I think, of Democrats to Republicans, conservatives to liberals to progressives. Oh, yeah, the progress. As a first-term New York State Assembly member, Zoran Mdani's views of law enforcement in 2022 were still very much grounded in his Democrat socialist roots and shaped by well-publicized acts of police violence. We need to dramatically curtail the power and presence of the New York Police Department, he wrote on his campaign website in 2022, as he sought re-election to his assembly seat in Queens. At the time, Mdani called for the New York Police Department to reduce its workforce by 1,300 officers through attrition. That's perfect. They're already down, 20% from, I think, 2020. He pushed to immediately end police overtime. And if you're not familiar with why so many of the police departments that were defunded due to fentanyl Floyd and that whole misguided defund the police thing, they did defund police departments. And more importantly, they demonized policing as a occupation, as a profession. Nobody wants to be a cop. And in these big blue liberal cities that really went after policing, just absolutely vilified it, nobody wants to be a cop in those neighborhoods. So all the police officers that have left, done lateral moves to other areas that appreciate public safety, they retired, they just flat out quit, went to work for other professions. that's caused about a 20% decline in the number of police officers in New York City. So the only way a lot of public safety happens, not only in New York City, in so many cities around the United States, Seattle and Portland being prime examples, is through overtime, and sometimes massive amounts of overtime, because they don't have enough cops on the streets or on the payroll to basically cover public safety a lot of the times. He wants to freeze hiring, cancel new officer classes, and institute a moratorium on all new equipment purchases. This is what he was talking about. This is what they believe in. This is fundamentals of what they believe in. Yep, no new cops. We don't want policing at all. They want the opposite. They want to let criminals out, just roam around, should be fine. Shenanigans for days, and we'll just ignore it. Oh yeah, it's great. Greatest thing ever. Democratic Socialist America. We can't reform our way out of a racist police system. Aren't most police systems run by black captains? Aren't they? I mean, isn't that just kind of, anybody who's in charge of policing? How many white dudes have you seen lately in communities where, you've got a lot of diversity? It's always some black dude or black woman, because it's just easier to make that work. Everybody's like, all right, we're on board. That's what we're doing. Can't reform our way out of a racist police system that's working exactly as designed, as a means of control over black and brown New Yorkers, he wrote. What about as a means against crime in New York City? What about that whole concept? We're just going to kind of leave that behind and, yeah, it's racist. No, this was what got Biden elected, right? Fentanyl Floyd. We went down that crazy train road. I mean, you've got a handful of people of color that actually get killed or shot by police. And so often when that does happen, it's because they are responding to something that individual has done with a gun. It's not this rampant police force running around murdering people. That is not a thing. I am still reading news stories where on January 6th, they're talking about the numbers of police officers that were killed, that were murdered at that event. And you know what? It's none. It's none. You had one the first day that died of natural causes. Some say he was hopped up on drugs and had a heart attack. You've got that. And then you've got 4 police officers on January 6th that took their own lives. It was a horrific event. They took their own lives. But that's not exactly them being murdered. It's not them being killed. They're not being shot, right? Because of this. But you've got all these news stories that go down these crazy train roads that are just wildly incorrect. So now you're going to have a whole bunch of news stories on Mdani and his ilk. And we've got one running for mayor here in Seattle, Katie Wilson, who is basically the same as Mdani. And they will probably win because there's such a big push right now against moderate, against somebody with reason, because that reflects Trump. MAGA, because they're red, right? They're Republican. So, any Republicans, she's got to be a terrible, awful person. So let's go with, what could go wrong with, putting Mdani in? Well, a lot could go wrong. And we're about to see it in real time. But at the same time, Mdani's trying to distance himself from all of this just absolute ridiculous now. He says that most of those remarks were made while he was not yet in office, so they don't count. I wasn't in office, so it does. Don't believe what I said back then, because I'm a different person. I've changed. I'll still love you in the morning. Yeah, I will. He arose out of frustration after the police killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Didn't George Floyd die of an overdose and a bad heart? Yeah, I think so. Little fentanyl action. Who is black, and that they do not reflect his current views on public safety. So you say. So you say, Zoran. Is that because you, want to get elected? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Indeed, since his Democratic primary win in June, Mdani has made numerous outreach efforts to establish a better relationship with the police rank and file. Oh, good Lord, there's a lot of people that like public safety. The police seem to be somehow involved in that equation. So, we better get on the police good side. Hey, guys, love your work. Love ya. 2 thumbs up. Yeah, that whole thing I said before I became, public figure and I'm trying to get into office. Yeah, I was just talking out of my ass. No, this is what they believe in trying to shore up one of his biggest political vulnerabilities. But Mdani clearly held critical views of the department more recently than the turmoil in 2020 after fentanyl Floyd's overdose. He wrote in 2022 that his proposed policing cuts would help reduce the department's budget by $3 billion. At what cost to society? Who knows? Shenanigans. It happens. And he suggested that the savings be reinvested in health, housing, community services. Sounds like a good social worker. Yeah, let's just defund the police, put all the money into social workers. Should be fine. Send out the social workers and that random phone call, that 911 call when the guy's got a big knife, he's running around naked and he's just chasing people all hopped up on drugs. Send out the, 60-year-old overweight, out of shape social worker. I'm sure it'll be fine. It'll be good. It'll be good. The department at the time had a $5.4 billion budget and a budgeted headcount of 35,000 uniformed officers. Man, that's a lot of cops. You got a huge population in New York City, though, right? I mean, what do we have in Seattle? 700? 800? With a metro population of 770,000 people? I know New York City's got just millions and millions, and that's why they need 35,000 cops. But even still, New York City is undermanned in the police department. It's interesting, the article goes on to say, except for people on the fringe, no one wanted to defund the police. Everybody here in Seattle did. I still see signs in people's homes for Black Lives Matter, which is a domestic terrorist organization, and Defund the Police, one of the stupidest concepts ever. And yet, Democrat Socialists of America, they support that. They support that because they also support, well, you know what, borders, we shouldn't have any. They're unnecessary. Judges, who needs them? Judicial system, who needs it? Laws, who needs it? Let's just function as a socialist society and it'll all be great. No shenanigans there. See how things worked out in Cuba. Yeah. So no one wants to say that, he continued. They're embarrassed and have realized that they were wrong on the merits and wrong on the politics. Yeah, but they went down that road. They got to pay. That's why we're doing this podcast. Hey, you said that. That is truly what you believe, because now you're trying to work all that back. You're trying to get off of that because you want to get elected and you need that vote of moderate folks who don't want to get, absolutely destroyed walking down the street because there's not enough cops and you've let the criminal element just really wildly do their thing, which a lot of folks would say that's what's happened in New York City's subway system. That's why you've got the National Guard being involved, right? Because you got an out of control system. You got an out of control criminal system going on. And then you had the whole, hey, let's just bring in as many criminal illegals as we can. What could go wrong? Right? We did that for a long time. Remember when we were reporting on that? Well, there's 14,000 criminal illegals running around a really small area around the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City, and shenanigans for, days, weeks, months, years. That's what they had going on. And this is the kind of guy that supports that. But he no longer wants to reduce the department's headcount, which is about 33,740 uniformed officers, below the budgeted allotment of 35,000 and down from a peak of 40,000 in the year 2000. Nobody wants to be a cop. I shouldn't say nobody. Very few people want to get into policing. It's just not really a thing. It's just, everybody looks at it and goes, oh, cop? Terrible. That's awful. And yet, Who do they call when something bad's going to happen to them, is happening to them, or has happened? 911, can you send a police officer over? Yeah, that's how that goes, right? That's how that goes. Zoran Mdani is reaching out to the police. So this is part of his rebranding. We are now supposed to reimagine and rethink the prior verbal shenanigans that Mdani had, and we're supposed to go with he's a new man. He's changed. He's changed. He doesn't really believe that because he wants to get elected, right? Just like a lot of the nonsense that Gavin Newsom is coming up with. Wants to get elected. Simple as that. Months before winning New York City's Democratic primary for mayor, Zoran Mdani sat inside a Pakistani restaurant in Queens with around 24 off-duty police officers. I bet that was a comfortable little gathering. The officers were familiar with the 33-year-old assemblyman's past calls to defund America's largest police force and social media posts in which he referred to police as racist and wicked. That's how you win a primary. That's how you win a primary. Do you win a general election with that? We'll have to see, right? We'll have to see. I think a handful of these numbnuts that are running in these positions are actually going to win. So Mdani has a meeting with a bunch of cops, and he's trying to work them back into, hey, vote for me. I'd be good for the city. If he wins November's general election, Mdani would oversee the nation's largest municipal police department. It would be a huge political and public safety test for both sides. Oh, let's have a safety test. Because New York City, that's what they need right now, right? Not stability, not public safety, but a safety test. Hey, let's elect this guy and we'll just see what happens. What could go wrong? Oh, the safety test. Ooh, yeah. Oh, good. Oh, what's going on? Yeah, not good. That's me reacting to crime story after crime story after crime story. Wait, we already have that. A safety test would just be even worse. Mdani is a Democrat socialist who has called for sweeping changes in law enforcement, and the New York Police Department as a 36,000 officer force that has long faced calls for reform. Hasn't everybody in every police department, oh, we need reform. We need federal oversight. Things are out of control here. Yeah, really? Are they? Are they really? I know the city of Seattle's been under one for like 12 years. We just got out from underneath it. I think all that's political. I think it's just a bunch of nonsense and it's political. But that's me. As his opponents accuse him of trying to undermine public safety, Mdani has disavowed his past calls to defund the police and leaned on validators like Heck, who said that he went from apprehension to a full embrace of Mdani there due to a belief that if given the chance, some of Mdani's proposals could revolutionize law enforcement and community safety in a way that will be beneficial to society. No, I call nonsense. I call absolute BS. Because the guy believes in defunding the police. If he had his way, that's what he would do. And any of these jokers that are going to run on this platform, Democrat Socialists of America, that's what they want to do. That's essentially what they believe. That's what they believe. And that's what they're going to go with. They're just going to say something out loud, very different. So, what else we got here? Yeah. Oh, yeah. How about this one? Hochul won't answer how Zoran Mdani should have make amends to New York Police Department after anti-cop statements. Well, how are you going to apologize for that? I'm so sorry I said that. I take it all back. I didn't really mean it. It's before I got in office. How many times have you heard that story? And do you believe it when they apologize? Absolutely not. Because that's what they believe. They come out and they make these ridiculous statements. Why? Because they got canceled. Because they weren't going to get elected. Because they insert whatever situation, right? This is why they're working their explanations back. This is why they're doing a 360 spin on what they actually believe. And they're telling you just some nonsense, some just silliness. I don't believe in defunding the police. That was back then. Now, love cops. Yeah, let's sit down and have lunch. Love you guys. Love public safety. It's the best. Cops are the best. Zoran Mdani wants to end all misdemeanor charges, easy pass for criminals. This is August 2025. Last month. This is what we're doing, right? Check out this one. This is New York Post. Gotta love those guys. Let's get down here. All right. This is what Mdani would, he'd get rid of all these pesky little things like third-degree assault, petty larceny, menacing, third-degree drug possession, DUI, forcible touching. No, you got to keep these going. Sexual misconduct, second-degree sexual misconduct, second-degree sexual abuse, third-degree ID theft. He's going to abolish all these as misdemeanors. That's his thing. Mayoral candidate Zoran Mdani wants to abolish misdemeanors or simply not enforce them. They include the following crimes, which have a maximum penalty of 1 year in jail. So, a little sexual misconduct never hurt anybody. Said nobody ever. A little second-degree sexual misconduct, let it go. It's fine. Third-degree theft, ID theft, it's all good. Go ahead and steal somebody's ID. It's fine. Menacing, I don't even know what that charge is. Third-degree drug possession. DUI, it's fine. Just get back in your car and, head on down the road. It'll be good. It's a straight shot. It's mostly a straight shot. You'll be good. Famous words. Yeah. So this is the rub. It's that kind of thing that, people need to realize this is the end result. This is actually what you're voting for. You're voting for some things that are going to have major impact on public safety, but they're going to try and hide behind these words. Oh yeah. I'm not going to do that. Yeah, they are. One way or the other, they're going to have a negative impact on what in so many of these big blue cities is needed, which is more law enforcement, more enforcement of the law, more incarceration, because you got to get the bad guys off the street. And this is the only thing you've got going. Reducing misdemeanors? No. Hard no-go, because these laws are put in place for a reason. People don't like to be forcibly touched. People don't like sexual misconduct to happen to them. I don't know if you know that's a thing, but they don't really appreciate it. So by eliminating all that stuff, just make it a free-for-all. Let's take all those misdemeanors and just get rid of them. Just sideline them. Or simply, like we do here in Seattle, don't enforce them. If you're a proponent of, what Mdani is selling, you should buy it. If you're in New York City, you should vote for him. Here in Seattle, vote for Katie Wilson. I'm sure she's going to do a bang-up job as basically the same ilk as we've got going on here. And there's a handful of other races out there as well that because Trump won, we went red, you're going to have big pushback. And this is one of those races that we're watching closely. And Mdani is the poster child for how this is going to go. It's not going to go well. It's not going to go well because we've seen what happens when these numbnuts get in office. All right. This will be an interesting race to follow. And by interesting, I mean, hey, let's roll the dice and see what happens. See what that outcome is. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. Love to have you subscribe. Do all that good stuff. I'll see you on the next segment. Bye for now.